say a few words on Ian's life in the time I knew him, around 50 years or so. And I can assure you, a few minutes is not enough time after a life of 97 years. As we see here today, many friends have joined us in Ian's final journey. Ian was one of life's true gentlemen. Born into farming family, farming was always in his blood. When Ian was born in 1924, he in his 97 years saw many changes, moving from horses to do all agricultural work to tractors. In the early days, Ian remembered a nice gesture for new tenants. All neighbours would come over and give a tenant's day ploughing, just so the tenant could get his crops in a reasonable time. This was known as the Bolly's Day ploughing. When Ian was 16, Ian's father bought a forestry tractor. That was in August 1940, on iron wheels and spade works. Had to be fitted, a row in each wheel to give some grip. Ian, the 16-year-old driver, attached the 5-foot Milwaukee binder. Father on the binder seat, cut 3.5 acres without any problem at all. Then to Westhill, the steepest field on the farm. Going up the hill, got stuck. Ian had to reverse. Had to cut across the brae face. Broke the pole, just lack of experience, so he told me. Father never across work, made a new pole. They fitted more spuds to the tractor wheels and finished without any further problems. The first day on an old, as we call them now, tractor, but new in 1940. When the Dumfries and Galloway Vintage Machinery Club was formed in 1976, Ian was a founder member. He was, in his younger days, a very enthusiastic member, taking part and assisting in most of all our activities. He became firm friends with many, but to mention a few, the late Bob Copeland, Bob Patty, Willie Brown, and as you can see here today, a lot of friends still with us. It is for me, as a firm friend, nice to see you all here, the Will Kent faces, attending Ian's final journey. In 1977, the Dumfries and Galloway Vintage Machinery Club held their first rally at Pat Farm. Ian had quite a selection of tractors here that day. It is 1942 Case LA, a large tractor imported from America, 60 horsepower, displaying driving a threshing mill. He had his Ford F 1926, probably the one you see on the memorial there. And that was the oldest tractor at the show that day, Ian driving it himself. The Case Model C 1934 was bought as virtual scrap, but with patience was insured, driven by a very young Norman. There was a Case DC4 1932, all its working life on the farm at Annan, driven that day by a much younger Ken. The other Fordson of the day was a 1947 Major, driven by Bob Park. Ian had on show the largest number of tractors. William couldn't have been old enough to drive that day. Again, in our first year, we held a working day ploughing match. Ian ploughed with his 1926 International 1020 tractor and his Cockshutt plough. He would plough at many matches on a regular basis, up until I think 2007. Using different tractors, this mostly is Cockshutt plough. And on 2007, our club magazine from 2008, Ian, it was our 30th anniversary, and Ian won the class for the 30th anniversary plough. Also in the same magazine, there's a photograph in the back, Ian with his bonnet on, talking to Willie Brown, leaning over the Cockshutt plough. Now I don't know what they were discussing, but I wouldn't care out about a plough. Ian was now 83 years old, but did not stop him from any way attending events throughout the country. When Ian had a tractor in mind, he would say to the boys, Mum and Jane, we might as well go on a wee run today. Could have been to Lincoln, Blackpool, etc. Jane always knew to take a crossword book with her. I remember at one of our club anniversary dinners, Ian and Jane were with Jessie and myself, and how ironing into the conversation I will never know. Ian went on to tell Jessie he always bought things that didn't need iron, just hung them up in coat hangers. Seemed to work for him. Ian was a generous, happy, helpful and good friend of many. I have a few words just to finish. The gate swings closed, the task is over. The furrows are deep and straight. The ploughman smiles in honest pride and slowly shuts the gate. Satisfied, he wends his way to his home and evening rest, and sleeps the sleep that comes alone to he who's done his best. Each task will end, each gate will swing, each ploughman will go home to rest, and furrows left upon the field should say he ploughed his best. Amen.
Thank you, Rowan. Ladies and gentlemen, current restrictions do not permit us to sing openly. They do, however, allow us to sing with our face coverings on. Despite that restriction, I am sure that you can make a goodly sound. Accordingly, I invite you to stand and to join in the singing of the bespoke farmer's version of the harvest hymn, We Plough the Fields and Scatter. If you're able, can I ask you to stand? final word to God and share his news with you.
Just like to say, Robert, that's a hard act to follow. My goodness. And Frank. Well, hello folks. On behalf of the family, I would like to thank everyone for coming here today to celebrate my father's life. I was getting a bit tired of all the cliche, aye, he's had no bad innings. My goodness, is that true? As until very recently, he was pretty much fending for himself. I kind of fend for myself in a fortnight with his way.
William, trying to cover your mask.
That's like that. We as a family consider ourselves very privileged to be able to say our farewells here today. As not so long ago, many people were cheated out of this due to the pandemic restrictions, including my late father-in-law, who sadly passed away just before Christmas 2020. Dad's longevity was down in part to my mother's great cooking and loving care throughout their lives together, and also changing habits, generally keeping himself fit, both physically and mentally. Changing one habit definitely added to his longevity was giving up the 65 a day habit in 1974. Which brings me to a funny wee story I would like to share with you. In 1975, after months of mother nagging at him to buy a new car, he finally relented and in his wisdom bought a brand spanking new Vauxhall Viva. Well, what a disaster that was. It turned out to be the most unreliable car on the planet. And to quote one of his favourite lines, he was awfully disappointed. I think it showed great strength in the man not to have went back in the fags, and in fact, it was a general consensus at the time that it would be much better for his health if he had ditched the Viva and went back in the fags. Holidays were always a bit of a taboo subject for Father Book. In fact, unbeknown to Mother, as Robert was saying there, any holiday time away from the farm was planned precisely around vintage machinery rallies and visiting like-minded vintage tractor folk, many of whom became lifelong friends. Dad's interest in all things vintage and mechanical was very important to him. Being a bit younger than my two brothers, when I was at primary school and high school, I spent quite a lot of time in the tractor shed hanging around with my dad and Uncle Peter, and sometimes walk back. I would be mostly standing, listening, and most likely washing an engine part of a bucket of paraffin, working on one of the latest restorations. This would be called kinesthetic learning today. Think of that. It would also be fair to say that Dad and myself and my brothers, with a good mechanical knowledge and a great understanding and respect for machinery, both land working and otherwise, at a fairly young age. Both Mum and Dad were fairly fast drivers. Whether it was Mum in her Green Cavalier, or the Green Goddess as it was later known, or Dad just being in a hurry to be somewhere. In fact, Dad's driving style had never really changed, and he drove well into his 90s. Actually, not long before he stopped driving, whilst on a run to Kitterbury to visit his sister, Aunt Elma, he was driving on Castleville's bypass, where he met loads of friendly folk waving and flashing lights at him. What a coincidence, he thought. So many folk he knew in the same road at the same time. So 2 weeks later, he discovered that he'd been nabbed by the street camera van and had been fined £100 for driving 75 miles an hour. Awfully disappointing. He said, "Ah, no, that was a game near trip to Kitterbury." It would also be fair to say that Dad also liked a ferociously dram with friends and family and enjoyed discussing topics old and new, with a special interest in family history. He also had a great love of gardening and would happily pass on invaluable information on this subject. Not knowing Latin names for plants didn't bother Father. He would often have his own names for plants, and we lost count of how many plants he called Lavacaria and Montbretia. And to this day, if we don't know the name of a plant, we will say, aye, that will be the Lavacaria. Folks, this is only a few words and memories of Ian, and I hope you will come and join us in Caledonian for Blood Withers. Thank you.
And thank you, Gordon. And now, just to give you a few moments to reflect on the relationship that you and Ian share, we're going to take just a few moments to listen to one of the all-time favourites, Hugh Robertson's All in the April Evening. Shortly, we shall be moving out of the chapel, headed for the private committal at Rukenloch Crematorium. Momentarily, I will ask the funeral directors to come forward to take Ian from the chapel and to place him into the hearse. The immediate family here at the front should follow on behind. To allow for COVID distancing, I ask that the rest of you remain in your places until you are directed otherwise, and that you retain your face coverings until after you have left the chapel. If you're able, I ask you to stand. And now, as we prepare to leave the chapel, our hope for Ian is that the road will rise to meet him, that the wind will be ever at his back, that the sun will shine warm upon his face, and the rains fall soft upon his fields. And until you meet again, may God hold Ian in the palm of his hand, and may you hold him in the warmth of your heart.